Hey everybody, and welcome to another video. And in today's one, we are going to take a little bit of a detour, a little bit of a junction off the motorway to something slightly different than what I usually do. A game came out on Steam, or a demo of a game came out on Steam that I've had my eye on for a little while just because it intrigued me. It's called Chernobyl Liquadators Simulator. Now, the title of the game, you know, sort of makes it sound like it's going to do what it says on the tin. The reason it intrigued me is because Chernobyl as a historic event is one of the most, to me anyway, fascinating periods in human history in terms of what happened and the story surrounding it. I don't know why. It's always just sort of resonated with me and really captured my feelings with it in the same way that World War II has. Chernobyl, of course, was a horrific event. April 26, 1986, the number 4 reactor at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine, which of course at that time was part of the Soviet Union, blew up, for want of a better description. And it is one of only 2 nuclear disasters in the entirety of human history that has rated 7 on the nuclear or international nuclear event scale, which is as high as it can get. The other one, of course, being the Fukushima nuclear meltdown in Japan as a result of the tsunami that happened there. Now, the initial response, together with the decontamination efforts and the general cleanup, I guess, was estimated to be somewhere in the region of 18 billion rubles at the time. Now, if you adjust for inflation, that's roughly $68 billion as of 2019. It's an astonishing amount of money, and the human cost is one thing, but the legacy that lives on as part of that is still something that really fascinates me. And anytime there's a documentary on TV, I always tend to check it out. But yeah, we're gonna check out this game. I'm very intrigued as to what it's going to be. Now, from what I've read, it is supposed to be very much a more realistic take. So we're not, as far as I know, as far as what I've read, we're not fighting zombies. We're not fighting, it's not like Stalker of Chernobyl, whatever the game's called, where you're fighting mutant zombie hordes and things like that. This is actually meant to sort of recreate the efforts that the liquidators, as they were known, the cleanup crew, had to go through in the immediate aftermath of the accident. Now, for anybody that knows anything about Chernobyl will know just how almost signing your own death certificate. This was a death sentence to a lot of these people. And while no official records were ever really kept of the human sacrifice, it is almost certainly considerably larger than the tiny human sacrifice numbers or the human cost numbers that the Soviet Union put out at the time. And unfortunately, they will never know because no official record was ever kept. Yeah, so we're going to give this a go. We're going to see what it's like, see how emotionally driven this game is. This will resonate with me a little bit just because I'm so fascinated by it. And if you haven't already, I do highly recommend you watch the TV series. I think it's a HBO series called Chernobyl, which is all about the disaster. Now, I think it does deviate from the official documented truth a little, but it's pretty on point. There's a few moments in there that's obviously recreated for the sort of dramatic effect, I suppose. But there's a large part of it that is based on historic facts. So I definitely recommend giving that a watch if you haven't already. So with that said, then let's jump in then and see what this game is all about. Right then, so here we go. We are going to check out this Chernobyl Liquidator Simulator. I'm kind of intrigued to see. I did, as you can see, it says continue though. I just wanted to make sure the game actually ran okay. A little bit framey, but it's not too bad. So yeah, and I played like about 2 minutes of this, so I haven't really got into this at all. But yeah, I'm wondering what angle they're going to take with this, because the liquidators were effectively human sacrifices to try and clean up this mess. And the life expectancy for a lot of them, because most of them weren't told what this disaster was. They all thought it was a fire on the roof, especially the firemen. And the life prognosis, the life expectancy for somebody who was that close to an exposed reactor core would have been days, maybe weeks if you were really lucky. So I don't really know. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see, do they focus on the chaos? Do they focus on destruction? Who are we playing? Oh, I suspect we're probably going to be... I suppose it depends on what point in the timeline we're jumping in. Are we going in after the radiator's finished and they're trying to, like, avoid the next disaster that very nearly happened and where it turned into effectively a fusion bomb? Or are we going in as the first responders? Don't know. Let's find out. Ah, AZ5, there it is. April 26, 1986. AZ5 was the detonator button. It shouldn't have been. AZ5 was actually a button that killed the reaction dead. It was supposed to stop the nuclear reactor in its tracks and prevent exactly what happened. But unbeknownst to the people conducting the safety test that night, that AZ5 button acted as a detonator rather than a kill switch. There you go, the roof's on fire. That was what the firemen were told. They weren't told. At this point, there was still so much disbelief as to what happened. And the directors and the people at the top, I think it was Anatoly Dyatlov, Brakhanov was another one. I think he was the director. They were so convinced that this couldn't happen that they basically just dismissed everybody saying, you know, that the dosimeters are reading ridiculously high, and you know we can see the core. Like there's rumors of graphite on the ground and all this kind of stuff. They just dismissed it because they said it just wasn't possible. And of course, this was the Soviet Union, who weren't exactly renowned for telling the truth about anything. Right, radio. Oh. Okay. Extinguish nearby fire. Keep an eye on our health at the bottom left. Okay, right. Disclaimer: that first fire was as far as I got in the other little playthrough, just to test that everything was doing okay. That was as far as I got. So from here on out, this is all now new. Refill the water supply. Oh look, so is that my water supply bottom left? The jar? I guess it probably is. Get near the main fire. We'll have to. Healing. Why does I have to hold it? It's so annoying. If you press it again, it disappears. Okay, well, there is a method of healing in this game, but I now don't know what it is. Right, we'll get a shovel. Okay, get near the main fire. Telling me to press 3.
Okay, you're where we need you. You're in the mobile unit today. This large tank you are carrying everywhere on your back is a testament to that. We are now putting all our forces into fighting the huge fires on front of the collapsed northern wall of Block 4. These don't give up easily, but I am sure we'll eventually manage to contain them. In the meantime, we need you to enter the fire area from the western side, get all the way towards the block's wall, and put down the smaller flames lingering there. This is a dangerous task, Homer, but it's not the first one like that for you. Now, put your
I think it probably is the first of its kind. Gas mask on, okay. And how do we put gas mask on? G? Oh, lovely. There we go. Okay. At least we know roughly how to put that right. If we hold... I held it that time and it still did nothing. And it still just disappeared straight away. So, lovely little bug there. Come on, there's no fire there now. What the hell? Oh god, I guess it did. This guy moves, doesn't he? Look at him. He's not only a fireman, he's an Olympic sprinter. Let's quickly refill. So on the left-hand side there, so there's a green light at the bottom that lights up every time I use one of those things. That must be like my backup. Maybe it's like to do with pressure, because that sounds like gas we're refilling there. And coughing already. Yep, that'll be the acute radiation poisoning that we are probably suffering already.
Good job putting out those fires, brother. This should make life easier for the host teams. Managed to establish a temporary command center and supply storage. Come over. I have new orders for you to pick up.
Okay.
Over. We still don't know what happened, but it appears that the fire has caused the buildings.
No shit. Yes, it has.
Quite a good job evacuating everyone. Some technicians have been cut off in the just from the huge cooling chimney at the very top.
You want me to go up there?
Has already attempted to reach the your main society, but were unable to succeed. This is where you come in.
This is where I come in, is it? You want me to lug a bloody great big water tank? But there's a ladder over there. A bloody great big water tank all the way up to the roof. I'm sure you will plan how to get us all out. Oh! Way ahead of you, pal. Oh, there's another firefighter. Is he attending to a body? I think he is. And another firefighter. Everything's A-okay. I mean, they've done a pretty good job in recreating the destruction and what it would have looked like, because it was a fucking big explosion. They've done a good job on that. I'll give them credit for that. Fires absolutely everywhere. This music makes it sound like this is the end of the demo. I'd be quite disappointed if it's the end of the demo already. Why is my health going down? Right. My health just dropped like a stone there. Was I too close to the fire? Maybe I was. Is there like bullet drop on this fire hose? I mean, I'm not. Unless there's unless there's a random fire hydrant up on the roof of this building. Then I'm about to run out of water. Can't get to the. And look, my health has just dropped like a stone. Oh, there is. There's a random fire hydrant on the roof. Okay. You can now see the bottom. That's gonna go. Okay, that's destroyed a help. But the good thing is that it just respawns us straight away. And unless maybe I didn't have my gas mask on. If we can get right to, yeah, like there, if you can get to the very bottom of the fire, you can extinguish it really, really quickly. I mean, when the fires are like buried under rubble and other bits and pieces, or they're obscured by obstacles and stuff, they take ages to put out. I must mean to go up here. Right, get onto the ladder, which is over there. Genuinely, I mean, I cannot imagine what these firemen would have gone through. I mean, they literally gave up their lives that night without even realising they'd done it. And the pain and the suffering that they would have gone through as a result of trying to put out this fire that they had no idea was caused by a nuclear reactor exploding. It doesn't, it's not really worth thinking about, to be honest. It is pretty fucking tragic. Okay, up the ladder we go. And we have another little cheeky refill. Oh, radio.
The simple way up is impossible, so you have to take a longer route, comrade.
Good.
Move across the top of the northern block wall and reach the western supplementary wing. It seems primarily intact and should contain a staircase leading to the roof. There are also technical pathways there. They should give you access to the cooling stack base. I am confident that you will succeed, brother. Over and out.
I'm sure you are. Really? So orange denotes ledges that you can grab, apparently. Oh, radiation, radiation, radiation. Okay. It would appear there is a geez, it just sort of just drops. It's rather an abrupt drop to the floor. Ah, here. This is what the shovel's been brought for. Incredibly flimsy doors that 2 strikes with a shovel can bend it to the point that you can then open the door. Oh. Put the gas mask back on here every time he coughs. He's obviously taking the mask off to cough, which probably isn't completely ideal. I mean, this looks quite structurally integral to what's above our heads. Are we sure we want to be moving this? Ah, no, it creates a bridge, a perfect bridge. Like a boss battle, isn't it? Anytime there's a fire hydrant, you know there's going to be a big fire to put out. Right, it looks like we're heading inside the reactor then. Now, if this was a horror game, this might be the first opportunity to give me a jump scare or something, but it is not a horror game. I'm going to continue to tell myself that it is not a horror game. Not in the traditional sense, anyway. This guy's in a bad way, I think. I mean, if you want to know what these firefighters went through, Google acute radiation poisoning. And go and have a look at the symptoms of acute radiation poisoning. It has got to be one of the worst ways to die. Almost without equal. So I'm guessing the stamina bar is going down because obviously the amount of oxygen you're able to consume inside a gas mask is less. So therefore you don't have as much energy or air to breathe. Brakhanov, so he was the director. Yeah, dear Director Brakhanov, I'm sorry to address you on such a trivial matter, probable in your everyday great efforts. Yeah, nice little butt licking first before you get to the point. You missed the fact that we asked for the delivery of working dosimeters. The new ones have not arrived, and the ones we have are inoperative or too small scale. Of course, we trust that nothing will happen, and we are doing our best to keep the power plant safe. However, just in case, we'd feel safer if you could check the radiation if we could check, sorry, the radiation if necessary. Please consider our request. So yeah, so this is important, right? So the dosimeters only went up to, I think it was 3.5, 3.6, something like that, which 3.6 Röntgen, I think is how you pronounce it, on the dosimeter is not really that high. Like you're not gonna suffer from acute radiation poisoning from that. You know, you might get a little bit of throwing up and stuff, but it's probably not a death sentence. However, those dosimeters only go up to 3.6, and when they were used in the immediate aftermath of this accident to measure the radiation, they all maxed out. And the crooks at the top, so Brakhanov and Dyatlov, all presumed that 3.6 was therefore the reading. And everyone's like, well, no, that's just the highest that the dosimeter goes. You know, we need a one that can detect higher levels to see how much higher than the 3.6 it is. And it was kind of dismissed. Until I think the firemen or they managed to find a dosimeter from a different block from this power plant that went up to something like 200, and that one maxed out as well. And 200 Röntgen per hour, I think, is the measurement. It is a little bit more dangerous, but it still wasn't as high. I mean, if I look at the got Google up here, so it's 5 Röntgens per second, which is equivalent to more than 20,000 Röntgens per hour. So a total body exposure of 400 Röntgens causes radiation sickness and death in half of the individuals who are exposed. Without medical treatment, nearly everyone who receives more than this amount of radiation will die within 30 days. So 400 Röntgens will cause radiation sickness and death. The amount of ionizing radiation that was coming out of that exposed core at reactor number 4 in Chernobyl was more than 20,000. I can't remember if I've said it already in the recording of this video, but if you haven't watched it and you've got access to HBO, Sky Atlantic, whatever, go and find the Chernobyl miniseries. It does deviate from the truth a little from what I've read, but there's also a huge amount of truth in there. So, and it's just all round an absolutely fantastic series, which does a brilliant job of really showcasing the horrendous disaster that this was. I think every time we kind of get exposed to the outside air like that, we get that spike in radiation. And even just touching stuff like this, I mean, he's got gloves on, that would do nothing. The radiation will pass through the gloves like a hot knife through butter, like as if it's not there. Every single surface, the pipes, this fuse box, fire extinguisher, the clothing. I mean, we've all heard the stories of the Pripyat hospital in the nearby city to where Chernobyl was located. When the firefighters came in, once they realised what they were suffering from, they took all their clothes off and dumped all the firefighters' clothes in the cellar of the hospital. To where, even today, what are we? We're 4 years short of 40 years after this accident. It is still so dangerously radioactive that you can't spend more than about a minute in there without risking death. It's an astonishingly bad moment in our history, but at the same time incredibly fascinating. And I don't know why it fascinates me so much, it just does. Except from the recommendation of the Central Technical Committee, instruction to conduct a safety test to demonstrate how long in an emergency situation a generator will produce enough electricity for emergency control of the RBMK 1000 reactor. The test scenario involves simulating an accident and performing a safety discharge. There will be a significant reduction of the reactor power and blockage of steam supply to the generator turbines. The experiment will be conducted on the 25th of April 1986. So that's the day before, effectively the night before, that test is supposed to be run, and that's what causes the disaster. Now, having watched various documentaries, I do have a working understanding of what happened. So to try and not blind you with science and sort of switch you guys off, effectively the test was meant to design or test a scenario where a blackout would occur. And I suspect with the Soviet Union being involved, they were potentially looking at maybe, you know, the West or the US bombing them or something like that. And the turbines, the water turbines and the steam turbines, I think, are basically designed to keep water pumping into the reactor, which helps control the reactivity. And what they were looking for that is to find out whether the dying turbines, is obviously the power's cut off and the turbines slowly spin down. They're still generating electricity as they spin down, just obviously a lot less. Could the 30 seconds that it takes for the diesel generators to come online and kickstart the power again, could that bridge the gap? So effectively, could they maintain a level of power output from the reactor by using the dying turbines to bridge the gap for when the diesel generators kicked in? I hope that made sense. So effectively what they did is did that. Now there was a whole host of other things that they then tested and cut corners on, which ultimately led to the disaster where they pressed the AZ5 button, not realizing that the reaction inside the reactor had caused a buildup of something called xenon, which is like a byproduct of the chemical reaction. And the second the control rods were dropped in, so when you push the AZ5 button, all the control rods drop into the nuclear reactor. If anybody who's like a nuclear engineer or something is watching this video and I'm talking shit, please correct me in the comments. I'm just going based on memory and watching various documentaries. So yeah, the control rods drop in, it kills the reaction dead, but the tips of the control rods were made of graphite, which actually accelerates the reaction. So by dropping the control rods in, it basically accelerated the reaction so much that it couldn't be contained within the core or the chamber, wherever it sits, and it exploded. But they didn't know that. So despite the fact that they, as the guy in the Chernobyl series said, they pulled everything back like a slingshot. Every decision they made was like pulling a slingshot further and further back. And the AZ5 was effectively them letting go of that slingshot and causing the explosion. So I hope that I hope you sort of followed me with that. I hope that wasn't too much of a science lesson. Right, Anatoly Dyatlov, so he was effectively the manager on station that night. He was somebody who wanted to get up the chain of command, and he was one of the ones who was cutting corners, and he was portrayed in quite a bad way, I think rightly so, in the Chernobyl miniseries. Anatoly, with regard to our friendship from the time of working Kosmolosk, take a look at my research. I've been saying for a long time that we're sitting on radioactive scrap. Until those at the top will not understand the danger. Chernobyl will be a threat not only to us, but perhaps to the entire country. It's hard to predict the effects of such a disaster. May we never have to find out how much damage it can cause. It's not about shutting down the Duga radar or the Soviet technology is outdated. Oh, of course, the Duga radar was a humongous range of satellite radar or radars that were meant to be some kind of like early detection system, like spy network almost. And Chernobyl was one of the power plants, or the power plant, I think, that actually fed that very power-hungry building to maintain its thing. It's still there now. It's not used now, but it is still there now. So yeah, it's hard to predict. Where do we get to? It's not about shutting down the Duga radar or that Soviet technology is outdated, but about the lives of many people. You've got it all in the document. Reactor design mistakes involving an increasing in reactivity as a result of boiling water in the reactor. Valid control rod dangers and the danger of xenon poisoning. That's the xenon thing I was talking about. Committee is under some influence and is requesting a repeat of the failed safety test. Please help me to join as an expert nuclear safety. So I don't know how much of this is accurate. I mean, I'm sure Dyatlov was an experienced nuclear engineer. He would have understood the risks that they were taking. But obviously they made all these decisions because they were so desperate to get this safety test signed off so that Chernobyl got the big green tick and, people got their promotions. But they did everything in the thought of AZ5 being your failsafe. That if things went wrong, you could just simply revert back, and obviously that was not the case. Okay, we're going up there apparently. I mean, we're getting higher, right? I mean, fire I think is the other side of this building, so we are sort of heading in, well, the wrong direction for health and safety reasons. looking for orange ledges, aren't I? Here we go. Game basically points you in a very linear way. Points you. Oh, hello. Points you very much in the right direction. Okay. All right. What poor sod had his desk here? That bottle is gone invisible. Lebedev Dmitry. We will follow the instructions, but in my opinion, I would advise against rushing the next test. We have the impression that there is a pressure to conduct the experiment at all costs as soon as possible. The director of Chernobyl 2 radar unit, Duga, is using his influence in Moscow. I consulted Dr. Berezovsky, a nuclear energy specialist I know from long ago. He points out numerous errors in the safety system. Unfortunately, his efforts to set up a commission are ignored. How they would have wished. I mean, effectively, this was... I think Gorbachev, who was the president of the Soviet Union, so Russian president, basically, head of the Soviet Union at the time, he effectively said that this Chernobyl disaster was basically the downfall, caused the downfall of the Soviet Union. I think there's lots of red lights on there, but there's a green one there. Push it! What could happen? What's the worst that could happen? He wasn't sure, was he? Is that even on? I mean, diesel generators are pretty noisy things. So that really doesn't sound like it's on. Do we open this? Oh, it's opened itself. Okay. Oh boy. Okay, now we're outside. So that is the exposed reactor core. And every time we get one of those reactor pulses, if you are not hiding, like now, it will effectively... Oh, God. If I look at it, am I going to take damage? Not sure. In effect, if you're standing out in the open, you will burn to a crisp. Oh, I thought I missed that jump as well. Okay, right, it's a lot easier to play now that I know how the sprinting... There was no way he made that. I jumped way too late. Shit. I'm dead. Hurry up. I don't, there's no way I survived this. No, I didn't think so. Alright, can we hide behind this? Is this enough? Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. Right. Lovely. Uh-oh. Thank you for playing Chernobyl. Broken leg. Movement speed minus 25%. Stamina regeneration minus 25%. Max stamina minus 25. Max HP minus 30. And we're limping. Right. I mean, there's no way we can... I mean, he doesn't seem to be that injured, does he? Oh, radio. Oh, good.
The area may result in fatal poisoning. Blood is extremely dangerous. I repeat, move away from the power plant now. Are you still alive? Did you hear the message? If you are still there, you must continue to the upper room.
Oh, okay. So everybody else leave.
Your only way of rescue. Reach the technicians and wait for the evacuation.
So everybody else gets to run away. I, meanwhile, have to continue heading to the roof. Here we are. Reach the top roof hatch. What awaits us inside here? Are there supposed to be people here? I think there are. Ah, yes, there's people. Right, I said earlier was an opportunity for it to be a horror game. I take it back now. This is the opportunity if it wants to be a horror game. There to be zombies. They look quite dead. Well, you can see this. Look at his face. That's what radiation poisoning will do to you. It literally mutates and melts your skin and causes like lesions and growths and stuff. It is abhorrently bad. It really is. What these people would have gone through would have been... I can't put it into words. Oh, there you go. So here's one of the dosimeters. So at this point, don't forget, our firefighter does not know what's going on, apart from what he just heard on the radio. This is one of the shit dosimeters. It's reading at 3.6. And realization has probably just hit him as to what's going on. I mean, it probably would have hit him already on the journey up there, to be honest, having seen and experienced the core. Mission report exert. Main objective accomplished. All CMPP personnel members found deceased. Operators medical data. Accumulated dose received 17 sieverts. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is like higher than fatal. Life prognosis 96 to 130 hours. There you go. Survival chance is negligible. Case closed. So a sievert, just to finish off here, because I think that is probably going to be the end of the demo. Wait, that's just finished. Yes, it is. So a sievert in radiation is an international system of units derived. Let me read that again. The sievert is the international system of units derived unit of dose equivalent radiation that takes into account the relative biological effectiveness of different forms of ionizing radiation. The effective dose from a diagnostic CT scan, which I had one not long ago, are typically estimated to be in the range of 1 to 10, I think that's microsieverts. This range is not much less than the lowest doses of 5 to 20 microsieverts received by some of the Japanese survivors of the atomic bomb. Total dose from Chernobyl is estimated at 80,000 microsieverts, or roughly 1/6 as much. So between 2 and 10 sieverts in a short-term dose will cause severe radiation sickness, with increasing likelihood that this would be fatal. In a short-term dose is about the threshold for causing immediate radiation sickness in a person of average physical attributes would be unlikely to cause death. But anyway, that's the end of Chernobyl Liquidator Simulator. It was actually quite interesting. I mean, maybe they did, for the demo anyway, they seemed to focus a little bit too much on the destruction element rather than the, there's lots of climbing, just putting out fires. It might have been cool to see a bit more of the chaos, if that makes sense. Just seeing rubble everywhere and fires. We've just played this for, what, 40 minutes? And that's all we've really seen. So I'd be keen to see, or be keen to know what else is going to be in the game, what other tasks you're going to be doing, and how they're going to portray that horror of the situation. Because obviously it wasn't just firemen, it would have been cleanup crew. There was hundreds of thousands of people who, I think it was 500,000 actually, who were involved in the total cleanup. From, going out and killing animals, killing all the wild animals so they'd stop the spread. Getting people to leave their homes, evacuation. It's a mental undertaking. So it'd be quite cool to see what else they go at that. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Comment below on your thoughts on this and your overall thoughts on Chernobyl, I guess, just to start a conversation. If you are a nuclear engineer watching this, then do let me know if anything I've said today is bollocks. Feel free to put me right in the comments. And yeah, sub for more, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.